Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You are tuned into Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News Radio, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, Audible, iTunes, and more, because I need as much splatter zone possible for happiness and hope, because I'm on a mission. 88 million more happy people in the next 8 years. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you had a beautiful, wonderful, magnificent Christmas. Thank you for all the kind words for those who saw me sing my solo to open the Agape International Spiritual Center Christmas Eve concert. And thank all of you for the continued prayers, as I had a pretty bad accident on the way to choir rehearsal for that concert and hit about 1.5 feet of water and hydroplaned through that water. And, you know, they tell you to turn into the way you're going, but I'm sorry, I don't have a lot of experience with hydroplaning. So I turned opposite to the way I was going, trying to straighten myself out. And that led me to spin through 3 lanes. So from the far left of the 10 West coming off the 110 North into traffic that was there for 3 lanes. I spun around and then overcorrected again to go the other way and spun around 3 more lanes and smashed into the middle divider. Hard enough that the left airbag went off, as well as the car automatically called 911. So my head bashed into the windshield and cracked my glasses, and then my body got thrown up against the armrest. And so the amazing great news is that I no internal bleeding and no broken bones. I did bruise pretty badly my lung, so it only hurts when I breathe and laugh, which are 2 pretty important things. So I've been a little bit under the weather, but good enough to do a show. The show must go on. In fact, I got home from the emergency at 2 a.m. on the day before Christmas Eve, and I knew I'd already taped your Christmas Eve show, and so I stayed up till 4 a.m. And my big brother said, the show must go on. And he's correct. So I hope you enjoyed the Christmas Eve show. If you haven't seen it, I actually read 'Twas the Night Before Christmas and do some singing. So you can get that on my YouTube channel with a free subscribe. But the most important thing about this whole accident is that it was my Christmas miracle, because unbelievably, as I spun across 3 lanes this way and then 3 lanes that way, guess how many cars I hit? 0. Now that is an absolute forking miracle. So that's my Christmas miracle. I'm so grateful. I when I close my eyes now, I can remember and see myself spinning. I can see the cars and the people's eyes going real wide as I move them. I'm still looking for someone who witnessed it, because it truly was a miracle that I did not hit anyone except myself. So, but thank you for all the prayers. Thank you for all I posted on Facebook, and I'm grateful for all the prayers and the good wishes. And so those of you who are on my social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, that's all Dr. Marissa, and on Instagram, Doc Balance. Thank you so much. And now, as we gear up towards the new year, 2022, everyone hoping and praying and wiggling their fingers. That's what we do in our family to give us some good luck, that this is the year that we all take necessary precautions to once and for all get this pandemic over with and send COVID back. I don't know where it came from, but not have it have this horrible grasp on us as it continues. And to that end, today is actually International Day of Epidemic Preparedness. Yes, every December 27th, its purpose is to create awareness about epidemics. Not that we need this day this year. I think every single day we've been inundated with news about the epidemic, usually in number count, usually in the rise, usually in people either saying we have to, or the loud minority of leave me alone because it's my right to choose. I am hoping and praying that if you are on the fence about all of this, or maybe you've had your mind changed because you were against vaccines, but then someone close to you died who was not vaccinated, or you are finally going to look at verifiable science in the news, or that you've done your own research and you have looked into medical science and not been swayed by rhetoric or one-offs or conspiracy theory. But to help you with that, I thought today, since it is December 27th, International Day of Epidemic Preparedness, and I think most of you know now that I do some beat reporting and I cover events, and I just happened to meet on location Dr. Monique Hedman, who is a doctor and a specialist in vaccinations. Not only that, she's very involved in educating, especially those cultures and races who have some reticence towards getting a vaccination and need a little more information, and especially the young ones. So I'm bringing her back on. She did some great rap videos that are helping kids understand more what a vaccine does, what it is not, and some information for the adults as well. So that is what we're going to do today. I hope you enjoy the interview as well. In the last half of the show, I have a very special guest. His name is Dave Scarbrough. So if you know anyone who has challenges with stuttering or ADHD, then you must tune in to the second half of the show for that. So that is what's up today for show number 604 here on Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And we're back. You're tuned into Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports. KCAA AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere, including my YouTube channel, where, as I mentioned before, you can get not only the Christmas Eve show, but all 603 shows, including my number 600 show that was just created with all those who are now in heaven, who have been on my show, and it was a beautiful show, so please do take a look at that. You also get my new short film called PPP, Post-Pandemic Possibility, which it got its first laurel in selecting at a film festival. So grateful for that, as well as, of course, my red carpet playlist, interviewing Halle Berry, John Travolta, Quincy Jones, and more. So please do visit that. And as promised, I'm bringing you a little bit of my spotlight interview with Monique Hedman to celebrate today, December 27th, International Day of Epidemic Preparedness, so that we can all call 2022 the tail end and the end of this pandemic. Fabulous people to introduce you to who shine the light on areas that we just need a little more help. And she is a doctor. Let me just read a little bit about her. Monique Hedman Vaccine. She's an advisory board member for Hip Hop Public Health and is featured on its Community Immunity Project. The headliner on those is none other than DMC. I just found that out. So if you are vaccine hesitant, or you know someone who is, if you are African American or know someone who is that still is hesitant about taking the vaccine, or you know someone with Alzheimer's, then you'll want to get them to tune in right now, because that's what we'll be talking about. So without further ado, please welcome to my studio, Dr. Monique Hedman.
When the pandemic first happened, I got a call from my mentor, Dr. Elijah Day Williams, who is the founder of Hip Hop Public Health. And he just said, Mo, we have to do something. You know, we have to address this. And I just said, you know, no question. We absolutely, we have to step up for this. And so, you know, he reached out to DMC. And I have so much respect and love for DMC for being willing to use his platform for such an important issue of getting folks vaccinated to fight this pandemic. And so we got together, we got in the studio, we wrote our lyrics that are addressing different issues about around COVID and around the vaccine to try to dispel some of the myths and disinformation that's being circulated so that people can get the vaccine, understand why they're getting it, why it's important, and how it will help us to stay clear and free and safe from COVID.
Beautiful. First of all, why, I'm sure there's 100 reasons, but why is it that COVID is affecting Black communities more than white communities, which is one of the things that he was rapping about? Why is that?
Oh my goodness, there's a multitude of reasons for that. And unfortunately, you know, if you look at the statistics on pretty much any, you know, chronic disease in this country, it is Black Americans that are bearing the brunt of many of these conditions, from hypertension to diabetes. And there are structural and systemic reasons for that. And I feel that the COVID pandemic has once again revealed and exposed some of those foundational causes. So part of it is that, part of it is systemic and structural, having to do with access to resources, food deserts, and the like. It's Black Americans in LA County that are representing the highest number of hospitalizations and new cases and deaths from COVID. COVID is still here. A lot of people feel like, oh, the numbers are going down. It's gone. No. COVID is still here. It is still very real. And so a lot of people feel as though they're very distrustful of the vaccine. They feel as though it may be harmful, specifically to Black Americans in some way. You know, there's a lot of conspiracy theory around just the origins of the pandemic itself, and the use of the vaccine to like control the masses, or, you know, surveillance. And then a lot of people actually just, you know, they really put their faith in kind of the natural healing science of the African diaspora that really focuses on like herbal supplementation, eating a healthy diet, sunlight, water. And I have so much respect for that. I have respect for that particular approach as well, just in terms of keeping your body and temple in order to withstand something like COVID. However, what people need to understand is that even if you have COVID and don't have symptoms, or, you know, or very mild symptoms and, you know, are not affected by it, every person that is not vaccinated presents an opportunity for the virus to mutate and evolve into something that is worse that we can't control.
That's the variant. That's how those variants are coming out now, right?
Exactly. And, you know, these variants are more contagious, and it's possible that they could become more virulent in the future. And so when we're talking about vaccines, it's not just about how is COVID going to affect you. We're talking about how can you protect your community and the people around you, the people that you love. Like, it's not just about you.
Right.
It's everyone. It's about community and unity.
That's a great distinction. I've been saying, this is taking responsibility, not just for yourself, but your role in your relationship with others. So if you're not going to do it for yourself, at least do it for the people that you love. What's the website that they can go to?
It's www.hhph.org/community immunity.
Got the vaccine, you got the vaccine, they got the vaccine, we got the vaccine. We can get back to normal, let me inform you, let's all get the vaccine. It's about community immunity. I'm talking unity for you and me. If Doc says it's good, trust me, it's good. Now let's all get the vaccine.
Sherry from the doc, she hit the spot. Then I felt a little tired and maybe a little hot. I was sore, my body and my head did tight. Woke up the next day and I was straight. It takes one shot and you're through. Oh, you might need two. Gotta get a repeat and wait a few weeks for the peace. But the truth does take me in a peak. Vaccines can't prevent a defeat. Immunity set immunity, duty for the community. Getting the expeditions to forget the conspiracy theories. Gotta get the blood ready to fight. With some antibodies sent to kill the virus on sight. It don't matter which type, we get them for free. Prevent, they set to protect secretly. Roll up your sleeve, cause the vaccine is key. Cause it ain't about me, it's about we.
Vaccine. We can get back to normal, let me inform you, let's all get the vaccine. It's about community immunity. I'm talking unity for you and me. If Doc says it's good, trust me, it's good. Now let's all get the vaccine.
Hot Doc,
What to do, Dr. Mo?
it's an SOS, we gotta let the folks know.
They believe that the vaccine is bad for you.
But we looked at the data and it just ain't true.
When I got the shot, it kinda felt like the flu.
That's much better than the IC flu.
The shot's pretty safe, but the boner is cruel.
It could make you sick, could be the end of you.
This vaccine all bust, but there's a lot of
Cause
mistrust.
the system is racist, that's the main basis.
But face it, the numbers don't lie.
We gotta survive and save black and brown
We
lives.
need community immunity to fight from
We
within.
need 8 out of 10 to get it in for the win.
To protect and defend and hug your mom again.
Cover your grin, let the healing begin.
Did you ever think you'd be rapping with DMC?
I mean, I worked with the Hip Hop Public Health for several years, and I've done several songs for the organization, and it was always a dream to actually be featured on a video with one of our, hip hop pioneers that are affiliated with the organization. It was always a dream to become a cartoon as well.
That's beautiful. Well, very well done. And it hits, I call it put the moose on the table, my Canadian version of talking about the elephant in the room and addressing, the conspiracy theory, why, people are hesitant. I just covered an event in downtown in Boyle Heights, vaccine hesitancy with a football Hall of Famer, Anthony Munoz, who put the moose on the table around how you will not be looked at for your immigration papers when you get a vaccine. So I think it's important for us to put the truth on the table. Okay, let's talk about herd immunity. So you hear about that all the time. What is the mechanics on that? Because I'm really not clear as well. And how many people need to have the vaccine before we get to that point?
Well, the concept of herd immunity, and this applies to many different conditions, viral infections that are in the population. Essentially, and the numbers vary, so people will say 8 out of 10, some people will say 9 out of 10. But 80 to 90% of people, if they are protected against a particular pathogen, whether via natural immunity or via immunity that they get from a vaccine, it prevents the infection from propagating and spreading through the masses. And that is really what we're trying to achieve. That is and was our goal with COVID, And if you stop enough people from getting it, then it can't spread. This is what's happened with this is what had happened with measles. It's what we've achieved with polio. And when you have folks that are like, I'm not getting the vaccine, or that refuse to get the vaccine, that's why we started to see more cases of measles. For example, I remember not too long ago, we had like outbreaks here in California. And it's just, these are very deadly diseases.
Mm-hmm.
Not anything to play with.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly with COVID, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm young, I'm healthy, like, I exercise, I drink water, I take herbs, I don't need a vaccine. And for a lot of those people, like, even if they were to get COVID, they would probably withstand it just fine. However, there's a lot of people who were previously healthy who have gotten COVID and gotten very sick or died.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way to know how the virus will affect you as an individual. And even if you were to withstand it, you could easily pass it on to someone that could not withstand the virus and could die from it. And that is why this conversation is so important.
Absolutely. And thank you for bringing it to the forefront in what you do. So now, anything else before I switch over to the other thing that you do that's kind of cool?
All I'll say is that, you have to respect people's knowledge and wisdom and independence. You have to respect what people choose to do or not do with their bodies. My ultimate goal is that I would never recommend something that based on what I've seen, the information that I've processed, I would never recommend something that was harmful. It is our oath to only share information that is going to benefit people and their health. And I'll just say, all I want is for people to make accurately informed decisions about what they're going to do with their body and what they will put in their body. Mm-hmm. and respect people's independence and autonomy, but also make sure that people have the accurate information and the facts to make a decision for themselves.
And I hope you enjoyed that presentation. You can get the rest of my interview with Dr. Monique Hedman on my YouTube channel. And please, 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 those of you who have not, I am just appealing now that it doesn't matter how you have talked against vaccinations or boosters, or what your political slants are, or what your conspiracy theory is. Please, can we put it aside for this new year, get the handle on the pandemic, and then go back to your corners. Okay, please. When we come back, as promised, my interview with Dave Scarbrough, who not only found a way to stop stammering with RTT, but a way to help others get through childhood trauma. That's when we come back on Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome back. You are tuned into Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News Radio, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Audible, let's see what else. Amazon Music. I always forget one, because I want the maximum split. Let me try that again. And streaming everywhere here on. Okay, don't laugh. And the good thing is, I do edit, but we try to do it like a one take live. But I have the option of doing the editing, just so you know. Okay. So if you hear me start and stop, don't worry about it. It won't show up. Except when I forget to edit. All right. And streaming everywhere. And this is KCAA, the #1 news talk radio station in the Inland Empire. And thanks to you, I am the #1 8 a.m. talk news show. And as you all know, this is positive talk radio. There's no ranting, no raving, no shock talk, because I want you to have the most possible happiness. And so I have guests and topics that support that. And today is no exception. I have a special guest for you. His name is Dave Scarbrough. He's a retired technician and office worker who stuttered for most of his life. This year, he discovered a form of hypnotherapy called Rapid Transformational Therapy, or RTT. After getting some sessions in therapy, he's now close to stutter-free most of the time, and he has even taken training in RTT so he can help others clear subconscious blocks from their is that music?
Life.
Is that music?
Music.
Is there some music coming on? Okay, perfect. And when you set stuff down, I can hear it. So that's why I started over just now.
Okay.
Okay. After getting some sessions in therapy, he's now close to stutter-free most of the time, and he's even taken training in RTT so he can help others clear subconscious blocks from their childhood which have damaged their lives. Please welcome to my studio, Dave Scarbrough. And welcome, Dave. Thanks for coming on and sharing your story.
Thank you, Dr. Marissa. It's great to be here.
Wonderful. So, let's see. Did you have any idea when you were young that you were going to be doing what you're doing now?
I did not. Yeah, when I was young, I was mainly focused on whether I could talk in class or not when I was called on, and like when in class, when they have everyone stand up and say something, everyone and stand up and read or something like that. And they were going down the line row by row. And I was always feeling a lot of apprehension because I knew my turn would be coming up soon and I would have a really hard time talking. Now here I am talking all the time. I'm giving 3-hour RTT sessions all the time and usually not having any trouble whatsoever.
Oh, that is truly a Christmas story right there. So if you're listening right now and you know someone who has a stutter, or if you yourself have had experiences with stuttering and maybe are hitting a point of hopelessness, then I'm so glad that you're tuned in. So Dave, this lasted, I guess let's go back. At what point did you realize that you were different in a way that maybe was going to get some negative attention?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, first I should also mention that RTT works for any kind of childhood trauma or adult trauma also. Yeah, it's not just stuttering. And stuttering is just one of those things that's highly influenced by trauma. I
didn't know that.
Yeah. Stuttering, it's primarily genetic. So you can pick it up from your parents, or you can pick it up from grandparents, or sometimes great grandparents, or way on back the line. They say that there's a gene for stuttering, but stuttering is also highly influenced by childhood trauma, and I had a great deal of that, and that's what kind of activated that gene that I had for stuttering.
Wow, I'm sorry to hear about the trauma. Mm-hmm. Are you comfortable talking about it? Only because people who are listening, actually 7 out of 10 of us have had childhood trauma. My honorable moniker, Oprah, says it's as high as 8 out of 10. And I've recently heard statistics. I spoke at the IVAT, the Institute for Violence, Abuse, and Trauma, last year as a keynote, and they were telling me that it is as high as 93% now of us. So we're the majority. And if we're the majority, why do we think there's something wrong with us? But if you wouldn't mind sharing some of what you experienced, because obviously it's not holding you back now.
Yeah. Well, we have to go way back to birth. I was born like 3 months premature and weighed about, what the heck did I weigh? About 2 pounds. I
Wow.
think. Yeah. When I was born, and back in the 1950s, I don't even know how I survived it, And I spent 3 months in an incubator for the first 3 months of my life. And then I was put up for adoption because my medical expenses were rather high. Being in an incubator for 3 months, and my parents couldn't afford that, and they gave me up for adoption. And then I spent the next 4 years of my life in an orphanage. I can't remember anything about those 4 years that I was in the orphanage, but I'm pretty sure they weren't really good years. They're probably pretty stressful too.
Where was this?
It was in Western Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And let me see, the orphanage is not there anymore. They tore it down, but I found a group on Facebook where there are people who were at that orphanage.
Wow.
And, I couldn't find anyone that was there back in the 1950s, early 1960s, but I found some people who were there in the 70s, and they said it was a rather difficult place to be in. Wow. There were like six children per bedroom, and 4 bedrooms per cottage, and they had like 10 cottages, and each let me see, the bedroom had 6 children and 4 bedrooms per cottage. So there were quite a few children there, and I'm sure that.
Do you have memories of that?
I do not. That was
probably a good thing.
Probably a good thing. Yeah, I'm sure. I was also extremely hyperactive, and that's also the one thing that I think caused the stuttering. That's what came out in all the therapy that I've been through was the hyperactivity. Back in those days, teachers and parents and principals, or pretty much no one in authority, knew how to do with hyperactive children.
Sure.
So I was yelled at constantly and always in trouble, and I was in trouble in school, and then when I came home from school, I was in trouble again, and I was adopted. I said, but my adoptive parents were rather old school, and they came from that World War II mentality where children are meant to be seen and not heard. So just stay off there in the corner and play, and when we need you, we'll call on you, and don't be too noisy or rambunctious, or we might have to yell at you and slap you, or whatever they did back then.
And don't cry, or I'll give you something to cry about.
Exactly. Yeah. And being a hyperactive kid, I couldn't even sit still in school. I recall in kindergarten, one of the memories I can recall, that I got kicked out of kindergarten because the teachers couldn't handle me. I was so hyperactive.
Wow.
My adoptive mother, she wasn't real happy about that at all.
I'm sure. So you continued through life with this challenge.
Right.
I'll call it a challenge.
Right.
And then what happened?
Let me see. Well, finally, I realized that so someone told me that they noticed that I could lead a group meditation with them. I gave a practice session to a friend of mine, and they said, "Wow, you aren't stuttering at all when you're doing this. When you're doing this meditation with me." And they went to a place where there were group meditations going on there all the time at someone's house.
Can I stop you for a second? So you actually, it sounds like this is recently, right? So you continued through life with this stutter. So, and you're, you're, I'm not going to say you're old, but you're not a teenager and you're not in your early 20s. So we're talking, and I'm bringing this up because you had a lifetime really of a condition that until recently was predominant with you.
Yeah.
Did you think I'm just going to have a stutter for the rest of my life and I just have to deal with it?
Well, for a got about speech therapy, I had quite a bit of speech therapy also. Speech therapy, however, it can make you stutter free. However, most people who get through speech therapy and do it effectively, they tend to sound a bit robotic. Yeah, it sounds kind of like this. And so you're going around talking like this all the time. I could put even more emphasis on it because when we're first learning techniques like that, and they teach you how to talk syllable by syllable.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So
they break speech down into it. They teach you how to say the first sound of every syllable. And then after that, they teach you how to talk syllable by syllable and then word by word. And then eventually you're talking in sentences. And they would prefer that you don't do a long discourse like what I'm doing right now, because then you forget to breathe. A lot of people that stutter forget to breathe also.
Interesting.
I found that I could do that for a while. The thing about sounding kind of robotic, that kind of got to me, and I just gave up on it. It was just too much to think about. And,
sounds very laborious. Very
laborious. Yeah.
So if you've just tuned in and you're wondering who I am chatting with today, his name is Dave Scarbrough. And up until this last year, he was a child who was basically born with a stutter. And through his childhood trauma, that stutter probably got worse. And but he has a solution. And we're going to find out now. It sounds like you tried everything and you gave up, right, on the speech therapy. You chose to because of the sound. Then what happened? So let's pick up now with your meditation. So were you always a meditator?
No. I found out that life as a person who stutters, and also I had the hyperactivity thing going on also. The hyperactivity, I grew out of that. I can sit still here and focus to an extent now, which I couldn't do in kindergarten. However, I still have a related thing called attention deficit disorder. And so I still have trouble focusing and I still have trouble remembering. And I found, like, when I was going through college, I had to study twice as hard as everyone else to memorize everything that I had to memorize to get through it in college. I have two degrees, by the way, one in social work and one in business management. And the social work one wasn't all that difficult. The business management one required a lot of study. And as a person with attention deficit disorder, I had a hard time with that. But I got through it because I try really hard at things.
Yes, it sounds like you did work very, very hard for both degrees, and kudos to you for that. And then what happened?
Like I said before, someone told me I had the ability to be stutter-free when I was leading meditations. So I was doing that for quite a while at someone's house where they were holding group meditations, and I was also a very spiritual person for a good bit of my life, because I found out that being really negative, like what my parents were, and most everyone in my life was, back when I was growing up, they were all negative. I found out that it's a lot easier to be a very positive person. And when you're positive, life just goes a whole lot more smoothly for you, and things don't get to you, and you're just a lot happier.
And you are literally preaching to the choir.
And I know you know that.
I know. I had to say that because we're both in the choir.
We are, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you go to this meditation, you lead the meditation, you have an astute, observant friend who says, you know what? No stuttering as you're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So then what?
Yeah, so I was leading group meditations for several years, and then I thought, well, the next logical step from group meditations is hypnotherapy. And so I studied hypnotherapy, and I realized there also I could lead hypnotherapy sessions without stuttering too. However, the carryover from the session into the real life wasn't working. Still, when I got into the real world, I started stuttering again. So I needed something where there was some carryover into the real world from the clinical world, I guess, hypnotherapy world, whatever. And then I came across a form of hypnotherapy called rapid transformational therapy. It was created by Marissa Peer from the UK.
Oh, I just met her.
You met her.
Yeah, we spoke on the same. Yeah, she does know me.
Go.
Yeah.
You got to have her on your show sometime. She's amazing.
I should. It's kind of a funny story.
Yeah.
We were both speaking on stage at Secret Knock, and she spoke earlier, and they showed her intro. They had put an intro together. Charles put a nice intro together, and they had my intro. But when I came on, Marissa, they put hers on before me. So she got her intro twice and I didn't get mine. But that's the story behind Marissa Pierce. So she owes me. She thought it was pretty funny. But go ahead.
Yeah. So I signed up for and took a class in rapid transformational therapy. Through taking that class, which lasted about 7 months for me. And yeah, so some people, it takes a whole year to get through it or more. And I had several people working on me in class, and they could all tell that I stuttered. The trainers and the other students, at first, I was having a bit of a difficult time with it. But then as the other RTT students began to work on me, because we had other students working on us and we were working on them. That was part of our training in the rapid transformational training program. And as they were working on me, I was going back to scenes in my past, realizing where the stutter came from. And I realized the hyperactivity was the cause of it, because my life was pretty hellish as a person who was hyperactive back in the 50s and the early 60s, and that was just too much stress for me. I couldn't take it, and my subconscious mind, it came up with the idea of the stutter as a way to let people in charge know that I was in trouble and I needed help, and no one was listening to me. And yeah, it sounds kind of illogical why my subconscious mind would do that. And the answer to that is our subconscious mind is not a real logical thing. It's not the logical thinking part of our mind. It's the feeling part of our mind. And especially for a child, a small child, they don't tend to be real logical anyway. They do illogical things to try to solve their problems. And that's exactly what I did as a I guess I was about 7 years old when I first started stuttering. Yeah, my subconscious mind came up with stuttering as a way to let adults know that I needed help. And
Interesting. I also had a thought that it also was a way to give you extra attention that you did not get when you were young.
Yeah.
I mean, there's another possible contributing factor.
I'm sure that I got attention through being hyperactive. Of course, when we could say, how much of this is genetic, how much of it is caused by the premature birth, and how much of it is our subconscious mind trying to come up with ways to deal with our problems. And psychologists would have different answers to that. How much of my case was caused by the extreme prematurity and all the stress in my life, and how much of it was my subconscious mind looking for a way to deal with all that stress.
I think it's all of the above. I think it's all of the above, but the most important thing is that there is a solution, and you found the solution. That sounds like it's also for more than just stuttering. I should put in a plug for rapid transformational therapy. Yes, please.
If I can. But then they are very good at helping people deal with any kind of trauma that they may have experienced in childhood or teenage years or adult years also. Now, of course, when we're children and we're going through trauma, it affects us on a lot deeper level than when we're teenagers or when we're adults, because we have a certain amount of ego strength as teenagers or adults that we may not have had as children. Rapid transformational therapy doesn't always have the same punch as it has with dealing with childhood trauma, but I found the effect is still there. It still helps people deal with any kind of trauma, anywhere in life where they've experienced that trauma. I've done about 50 sessions so far, and for a person who just recently graduated about a month and a half ago, that's a pretty good average, about 50 sessions. But most of those were free sessions. I was just doing for practice. I was just refining my trade and seeing if rapid transformational therapy worked the same way for them that it worked for me. And I would say at least 95 to 98% of the time it had that powerful effect on them. Because,
wonderful.
Like you said, just about all of us, who was it? Oprah said 80% of us have had childhood trauma.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a wonderful solution. And I'm looking at the clock. We're almost out of time. So I want to make sure that I ask you the question that I ask all of my guests: to who or what are you most grateful for?
What am I most grateful for? I'm grateful to all the really positive, wonderful, loving people in my life who have came into my life and who have shown me that there is a way out of a negative life, and that's through finding your inner source, finding your inner strength, finding your inner power. Some people have different names for that. Some people call it God or whatever you call it. Find that power within you and realize that you can have that perfect life just by being that higher self, that higher connection that you have within you.
Beautiful. Yeah, I call him my UPS man, my universal power source, who delivers every morning when I pray and meditate. So that's wonderful. And I wish you the very, very best. Have you anything else to add? How do people find you if they want to work with you? Kinds of what the typical process looks like.
Okay. My website is davescarbrough.com, and that's spelled SCARBROUGH. They can also contact me through my email and then address davescarbrough@davescarbrough.com.
Beautiful. Well, happy holidays to you. Thank you for sharing your journey, your challenge, and your solution with us here today. Dave Scarbrough, someone who took a lifelong ailment and turned it into something not only to heal from, but is now helping others heal from childhood trauma as well. I love when people do that because that's what makes us humankind, emphasis on kind. Thank you so much, Dave. And this is what I do at the end of every show. I'll let you do this with me as well. Peace in.
Peace
out.
Peace out.
World peace.
World peace.
Through inner peace.
Through inner peace.
Thank you so much, Dave.
Thank you.
And this is Dr. Marissa reporting live out of my living room during the pandemic, reminding you to go forth and multiply the goodness that you are. Have the best day ever.
Bye, everyone.